let's go wider and explore other films that have utilized the late title card and title sequence, and try our best to categorize the intended purpose for each. The last category of the prologue section that we still need to cover is action. You're probably thinking, but Adam, you've already mentioned Mad Max Fury Road, Baby Driver, Pacific Rim. Those are all action movies. And you're right, they are. But I've been talking about primary function, and action isn't the most important element in those films. I'm talking about tentpoles, summer blockbusters, franchise films. And when there's hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, you gotta give the audience what they want right from the jump. And more often than not, that means a badass action scene to get things started. John Wick 2 doesn't give you a second to breathe before it jumps into an action scene involving hand-to-hand combat, cars, and motorcycles. The Star Trek reboot from 2009 starts with an attack on the Federation ship USS Kelvin and ends with George Kirk's heroic sacrifice so that his crew, including his pregnant wife, can survive. Tenet is one of the rare Nolan films that actually drops the title card in the middle of the movie. In this instance, the protagonist, along with other CIA agents, attempt an extraction at the Kiev Opera House. We get a few foreshadowing glimpses at the type of inverted action that's going to become a big part later. The protagonist is captured and tortured by mercenaries, and after he takes a suicide pill, we cut to the title card at the 9-minute mark. Since its first entry back in 1996, the Mission Impossible franchise has expertly utilized their prologues to establish characters, introduce conflict, but most importantly, they know how to kickstart a movie with the kind of action that instantly grabs the audience's attention. Mission Impossible is probably the quietest entry, leaning heavier on the espionage genre that favored De Palma's style. When John Woo came on for the next film, Mission Impossible 2, the tone drastically shifted. Suddenly, there's an airplane heist with the villains crashing the plane, and then we cut to Ethan Hunt rock climbing and hanging off the side of a mountain. This was only the beginning of highlighting what would eventually become one of the most trademarked aspects of the Mission Impossible series: Tom Cruise doing crazy-ass stunts.
You're gonna tell me where the rabbit's foot is, or she dies.
Mission Impossible 3 is another relatively quiet intro, action-wise, but might also be the tensest moment in the entire franchise, because of Tom Cruise and Philip Seymour Hoffman's performances.
No. 10.
And from then on, with Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, and Fallout, the prologues have struck an excellent balance of introducing villains, conflict, and weaving them with the kind of action the franchise has become known for, with Tom Cruise risking his own life for our enjoyment. Superhero films often use the action prologue to set up their stories. Deadpool 2 is an excellent example, even though it's just a parody of the James Bond films, which I'll get to in a minute. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is an interesting case study on title cards. Near the beginning, a lot of the films used a title card after a cold open. Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Thor, and then the first Avengers film had a lengthy prologue of about 12 minutes, which they needed in order to establish the conflict and high stakes necessary to bring this team of individuals together for the first time. But then, title cards started disappearing in future films. Thor 2 had one, and then perhaps the best use came in The Guardians of the Galaxy, a film that not only used a title card, but an entire title sequence. So many of these films shy away from the title card and sequence, usually just shoving it at the end, but James Gunn really knows how to use that tool to his advantage, helping establish the weird tones that his worlds usually have. Avengers: Age of Ultron has another lengthy intro before its title card appears 12 minutes into the film, and then when Captain America: Civil War hit, there was another shift. The Captain America movies always omitted the title cards for some reason, but here they still didn't include a title card, but in its place they have a prologue followed by the Marvel production logo. which is just bizarre when you think about it. It highlights a focus not on individual creativity and originality from film to film, but on a brand-first mentality. Everything aligning and fitting together with the brand of MCU. And that's a pattern that would continue with future entries. Besides the second Guardians movie, with another great title sequence, Thor Ragnarok, and the final two Avengers films, Infinity War and Endgame, a lot of films started using the MCU brand intro after the prologue, like Black Panther, Ant-Man 2, and The Eternals. It's disappointing that a unique tool like the title card and sequence, which can offer originality and reinforce tone and everything we've already mentioned, is skipped over for the larger MCU brand. I was honestly shocked when I watched Black Widow and saw that they had an honest-to-God true title sequence 13 minutes into the film. It was refreshing. Not only did it help tell the story, but it offered some originality in a machine that seems happy to just mindlessly slap on another MCU sequence that adds nothing to the film, except to remind you that you're just watching something created by a brand to sell merchandise. Now, if we're talking about action prologues and elaborate title sequences, we of course need to talk about James Bond. There are 25 films in the James Bond franchise, but all you have to do is look at the first film, Dr. No, and the most recent film, No Time to Die, to see just how far the now iconic action cold open and elaborate title sequence has become. Dr. No is the only film in the franchise to not have the action prologue, whereas No Time to Die has by far the longest prologue, coming in at a lengthy 24 minutes. The first prologue came in the second film, From Russia with Love. It's a simple, quiet intro that has James Bond stalked in the night by the film's main villain. And just when you wonder if James Bond is actually dead, there's the twist reveal that this was all just a test for the assassin before the opening credits begin. The third film, Goldfinger, is really more indicative of the Sean Connery prologues. Cloak and dagger, fistfights, femme fatales, silly gadgets, foreign locations, and the occasional cheesy one-liner.
Shocking.
Roger Moore's prologues had more of the spectacle that we're accustomed to now, but they also were all over the place tonally. Some were more serious, like Live and Let Die and For Your Eyes Only, some sillier, like The Man with the Golden Gun, and then whatever the hell this is from A View to Kill. With Pierce Brosnan, the action became bigger and the prologue's length became longer, but the cloak and dagger spy from GoldenEye
Beg your pardon, forgot to knock.
Was slowly replaced with a bullet-spraying action star like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone in the movie Die Another Day. Daniel Craig's prologues brought us back to the quieter espionage of Sean Connery with Casino Royale. It was a grittier depiction that felt more raw and real. What's been most interesting about Daniel Craig's Bond is the way they've infused humanity into the character. In Skyfall, we see a Bond that's humbled and brought low. And in No Time to Die, we see real sacrifice and anguish. I haven't mentioned the title sequences because that honestly deserves a video all its own, but from a quick glance, you can see the variety, originality, and all the ways the creatives use the images and music to establish a tone, deliver information, and convey a deeper meaning to the audience before the actual story begins. Alright, so we've covered the prologue title card, how and why it's been used, so now let's shift to the other type, what I call the turn. If the prologue establishes the story, setting up the stage for what's to come, the turn flips the story on its head, sending the narrative in a different direction. An event happens, a choice is made, or maybe it's the truth finally coming out. These are the exciting title cards, the ones that smack you in the face because you don't see them coming. Or they come with the oh shit moment, slamming an exclamation point on an already tense scene in order to add emphasis. In 127 Hours, we follow Aaron Ralston as he goes hiking in Utah's Canyonlands National Park. He makes friends and swims in an underground pool before continuing on. While climbing, a boulder comes loose and traps his right arm against the wall. And as the moment of realization hits him that he's trapped and all alone, the title card appears 17 minutes into the film. In Love Exposure, it's when Yu first meets Yoko and instantly falls in love with her as they work together to fight a group of thugs, when the title appears at a staggering 58 minutes in. And a recent excellent example of this is in the movie Fresh. After a string of failed relationships, Noah meets Steve, who actually seems to be the first decent man she's met in a long time. After sharing a cocktail together at Steve's house, Noah falls to the ground, drugged by Steve. And it's as she's laying on the ground, and the entire tone of the movie has drastically shifted, the title appears 33 minutes in. We already talked about how Drive My Car's title sequence reinforces the narrative shift and the jump in time. It pivots the viewer into a different kind of viewing experience. That's what the turn title card reinforces, that shift that changes everything. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind starts with a blossoming yet somehow off-putting romance between Joel and Clementine. It feels like a normal romantic movie until Elijah Wood's character knocks at the window, asking questions that feel strange and out of place.
What are you doing here?
I'm not really sure what you're asking me.
Oh.
Immediately, we fade to the title sequence where Joel and Clementine have broken up, and Joel's on his way home to get her erased from his mind. The beginning of The Departed is all about setting up the chessboard, putting all the pieces in their place. We follow Colin Sullivan and Billy Costigan Jr. as they both prepare for their positions. Sullivan is groomed to become a mole inside the Massachusetts State Police, and Costigan is groomed to be an undercover operative in Costello's crew. And once the pieces are in place and the game is ready to be played, the title card finally comes in at 18 minutes. Last Life in the Universe introduces us to Kenji and Noe, both with tumultuous relationships with their respective siblings. After Kenji's brother is murdered and Noe's sister is struck by a car and killed, both of them form a tentative friendship, and the title card appears 33 minutes into the film. Climax begins with a professional dance troupe rehearsing in this abandoned school. It's a night of celebration as they're all drinking sangria and dancing together, which is where the incredible title sequence comes in around 45 minutes in. And then everything shifts. A night of celebration turns into a psychological nightmare as the dancers realize that the sangria they've been drinking all night has been spiked with LSD. The members become paranoid, confused, agitated, and start attacking each other, leaving many dead throughout the night. After the title sequence, the slow descent into madness is portrayed with a single 42-minute long take. Like I said in my previous video, late title sequences, long takes, this is the kind of stuff that film lovers drool over. There's another film with a similar structure. Begon's 2018 film Long Day's Journey into Night is broken down into two main parts. Part 1 introduces us to our main character as he returns to his hometown to attend his father's funeral. As he wanders around town, distant memories from his past begin to haunt him. And then in Part 2, he enters a movie theater, puts on a pair of 3D glasses, and then takes the audience on this surrealistic and immersive experience through his dreams and memories. And this second part of the movie is all conveyed through 1 hour-long continuous shot filmed in 3D. And what separates these two sections is the film's title card. The same director, Begon, has another entry on this list with his film Kylie Blues. Chen, an ex-convict now working as a doctor in a rural community, argues with his half-brother, Crazyface, about how he neglects his son. When that son disappears, he's afraid that Crazyface sold him into servitude, and so Chen takes it upon himself to go to a mysterious village to go track him down. My last two examples are some of the latest title cards I could find, and they're both interesting examples for different reasons. With Stalker, we see the title card not once or twice, but 3 times throughout the film. At the very beginning, the picture fades in, and the title sequence begins with the names of the 3 main characters before the title appears. And then more cast and crew are listed before the title appears once more to punctuate the end of the sequence. The film takes place in the distant future, where stalkers lead people through an area called the Zone, where the laws of physics don't apply and remnants of seemingly extraterrestrial activity lie undisturbed among its ruins. Somewhere within the Zone is a place called the Room, which apparently grants wishes to anyone who steps inside. But the area of the Zone is dangerous, shrouded in secrecy, off limits, and plagued with ominous hazards. After the stalker walks 2 men all the way to the edge of the Zone, he wants to stop there, but the men say they won't pay him in full if he abandons them to the dangers of the Zone. And so, with fear and trepidation, the stalker agrees to go on ahead. And as they begin to break the invisible barrier of the Zone, the title card appears a 3rd time, a delightful hour and 5 minutes into the film. My last example is the latest title card I found in my research, and it comes from the 2018 film Mandy. Now, I mentioned that this is an interesting example like Stalker because in this instance, the movie is broken up into 3 sections, or chapters, that are given on-screen text. The Shadow Mountains, 1983 AD, Children of the New Dawn, and the last section is titled Mandy. Since it's the name of a chapter, I'm not exactly sure if it counts the same, but you can bet that I'm going to count it because it's so incredibly awesome. In the film, Nicolas Cage's character Red Miller and his girlfriend Mandy Bloom live a quiet, secluded life in their cabin near the Shadow Mountains, until an evil religious cult's leader spots Mandy and is struck by her beauty. The cult leader, Jeremiah Sand, hires a demonic biker gang to kidnap Mandy, but after Mandy mocks and belittles Jeremiah for his god complex, they burn her alive and leave Red for dead. And so after Red chugs a bottle of vodka and processes his grief and rage in a beautiful way that only Nicolas Cage can, he sets out for revenge, but not before reuniting with an old friend and forging a battle axe. Armed and ready to get his revenge, only then does the title finally appear, after an hour and 15 minutes. Okay, I've been talking about title cards and title sequences for way too long, so after everything I've said and gone over, what have we learned? Similar to lighting, camera work, music, and editing, title cards and sequences are just another tool at a filmmaker's disposal. You can either run from them, embarrassed that they exist, or you can embrace them and use them in unique and interesting ways to help tell your story. To give your film originality in a medium controlled more and more by brands focused solely on merchandise. To give your film a voice that's all its own, that smacks the audience in the face and demands that they pay attention to what you have to say. Oh, did I mention that they're completely 100% awesome? Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. 2 videos talking about late title cards. One of my favorite things about having a YouTube channel is that I can talk about whatever I want, whenever I feel like. And so I really hope that you enjoyed it too. I know this video wasn't for everyone. I went very niche with this video topic, but I still hope that you all enjoyed it out there. If you did, please like it and share it with a friend. Leave me a comment below telling me what your favorite example of a late title card is, or if there's one that I missed. If you could please just some way engage with this video to appease the YouTube algorithm gods and to push them to push this video to the right people so that way, more eyeballs can just see it. An example I wanted to include, but I couldn't find any footage of because it's still in theaters, was the movie out of India called RRR. I tried to find footage online or on YouTube, and it's funny is that if you actually search RRR late title card on there, you have so many examples of fans filming with their iPhones in the theater, trying to get the moment when the title card shows up, and the uproar of people who were flipping out when it finally showed up so late in the movie I think it's like after the end of Act 1. It's a long movie. It might have been like 45 minutes into the movie. So another great example I wasn't able to include, but one that deserves to at least be mentioned. As always, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, but not only that, make sure you click that stupid bell below so that way you're notified whenever a new video comes out. Even if you're subscribed, you're just not gonna see my videos. I've had so many comments on my last title card video saying that like, oh, I didn't see this in the feed. How come YouTube didn't share it with me? It's just the way it is now. They don't care about the subscriber model. It's all about just what you're clicking on and what they want to share with people. So make sure you click the bell below if you want to make sure you never miss a video by Entertain the Elk. Shout out to my patrons out there for your continued support. I'm so thankful for all of you and your contributions. I want to take a second real quick to also push my podcast. If you haven't heard of it yet, I have a podcast called Of Mice and Men and Monsters that collides Dungeons and Dragons actual play with classic literature. The dungeon master is actually my wife, Caitlin, and she is a high school English teacher. So she's guiding us through these worlds. We've played through Frankenstein, Moby Dick, Count of Monte Cristo, Robin Hood, Oliver Twist, and we're currently playing through The Great Gatsby. We've only had about 50 episodes so far, so it's not too late to join in, start listening. If you like Dungeons and Dragons, if you like literature, if you like comedy podcasts, or just people being idiots and having a good time playing games together, please go check it out. I'll have a link below so you can go check it out. The best way to listen to it, just wherever you listen to podcasts. Search again Of Mice and Men and Monsters, and I would love to hear what you think. If you go check it out, please leave me a comment below, reach out, and tell me what you thought. Thanks again, everyone, for watching this video, and I will see you all next time.